Question 2, which piecewise function is shown on the graph? So just like we read a line, let's read this piecewise function from left to right. I think that would be easiest. So we're going to start with this curved function, which you should recognize that is an exponential function. Exponential functions take this form right here. Couple things to note. This exponential function, the flat side of that graph, notice how low it is. Notice the y value that it's approaching but doesn't quite touch. It's at -5. So you should recognize this has a horizontal asymptote of -5. So right away I can look at the answer choices and I can recognize which one it's going to be and which one it's probably not going to be. Like the key is we should have that -5 at the end of the problem. Now one of these is a negative in front of the 4, the other two have a positive in front of the 4. Well, this graph is going uphill from left to right, so that should be a pretty big clue that it should be +4. But let's use a graphing calculator or Desmos or whatever you have at your disposal to graph this and double check that it matches the graph, at least the piece of the graph that they provide for us here. The E button is second division sign if you're using a TI-84. We graph it, and yeah, it matches up. And again, it's obviously going to go much further because they've kind of cut it off here, but we can see how that graph matches up with the one they provided here. So we know the answer is either A or C right off the bat. So I'm going to mark out this one. I'm going to mark out this one. They both have the same listed domain of x is less than 0. That's the same. The second equation is also the same. Notice they're both 3 and they both have the same domain there. So that doesn't help us. So we need to go to the third part of the piecewise function, really to see the only difference. One of them has a y-intercept at -7. The other one has a y-intercept of +7. And of course, we're referencing this piece of the graph right here. And of course, this graph doesn't technically cross the y-intercept, but if we kind of magically extended that graph, use a light color, kind of a yellow here, we would see it would cross the graph, the y-axis, at a positive number. Like I've drawn that surprisingly really straight, and I can see that it's going to cross at +7. But even if you didn't draw the line perfectly straight, you would see it's crossing at a positive number and not a negative number, which would rule out this -7. So the answer choice is C, or whatever answer choice you have listed there that matches up with the one I've circled.